What up, everybody? Happy Thursday. This is the In Off the Bench Podcast Network's Grid and Grind show. I am your host, Daniel Ball, and we got some good content for you today. We got Artur Cabral of the South Beach Palms stopping by. He's going to talk to us a little bit about what he's been up to this offseason. He's going to talk to us about the expectations for the Palms coming up for the 2025 season. We're just going to cut up. We're going to have a good time. But before he joins us, I got to give some love to the best sponsors in the land. Chinook Seedery, whether you're on the field or in the boardroom signing deals, Chinook helps you get the job done. 8 flavors, mild to wild. Stop by your local convenience store, grocery store, gas station. Pick up the blue bag, the best seeds in the game. Old Dominic Distillery, experience 150 years of tradition in the heart of downtown Memphis. From bourbon to vodka, whiskey to gin, Old Dominic's got you covered. Stop in today for a tour or just to pick up your favorite bottle. Relief Chiropractic, Dr. Vic Robinson. Go see him. He's got magic hands. He's rejuvenating people. He's adding years to your life. He's going to sit you down. He's going to do a free consult, do a needs assessment, and he's going to put together a tailored prescriptive plan just for you. Promise you, go see him and you won't be disappointed. And with that, the bills have been paid. We can do this for another day. I can keep the lights on, keep the AC on, the heat, whatever the case might be. But we got to talk South Beach Palms, and we got to get the story of Artur Cabral. Artur, my man, what is up, brother?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I am blessed. And, I'm going to apologize up front because you reached out to me and you said this. You said, "Where are all the Palms?" And I got to thinking, I was like, you're right, man. What am I doing? So, because of you, we connected and I got you first on. I had Briley on about 2 weeks ago and now having you on, but we've scheduled quite a bit of the Palms up for the next 3 weeks. We're pretty stacked with Palms. So I appreciate the connect and getting us going in that route because you're definitely underrepresented, but after March, no longer. You guys are going to be fully represented, so that's always a good thing, man. So appreciate that from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been a fan of, listening to your show and, learning about everybody's story, as much as we interact on, on the grid and outside of the grid and on social media, is like it's not always the easiest thing to do, like to learn about everybody's story, like some people I just don't have the reach to, to talk to and etc. So it's been really enjoyable to listen to your show and learn about everybody, and that way I can connect with more people, etc. So that's been awesome, and I just wanted to bring more visibility to our team. Like I've seen a lot of the Sharks, Brigade, Breakers, the Venom, and so I would love to bring more of our players to share their stories. There's a lot of people with really cool stories that are worth being highlighted. So
Definitely, and you are one of them, and I'm ready to get into that with you. I do have one gripe. We've got to go to whoever we need to speak to at Georgia Tech. All right, because you were not on the list of professional athletes from Georgia Tech, and we've got to do something about that. I mean, you've got Calvin Johnson, but where is Artur Cabral? Like, come on, man. Like, who do I need to talk to?
I don't know. I didn't even know there was a list out there.
Oh,
That's
there's
to
a
be
list.
fair.
There's a
Yeah.
Artur, there's a list for everything these days, man. So, um,
Yeah, we need to talk to somebody. I'm gonna pull in some contacts to see who I need to talk
nice.
to put my name on that list.
Let's go. Well, you got some brains behind the brawn, masters in science and computer science. What was the plan after school? What are you doing with that degree? Because that's a big one.
Yeah, so I went to school for computer science on my bachelor's as well. So I'm a computer science major, a math minor. I was in school and like taking a lot of math classes for computer science anyway. So I was like, oh, what about adding a few more and just get a minor in math? So, so I graduated with that and um, played volleyball professionally afterwards. And we can talk about more of that, but going into Georgia Tech for my master's, I wanted to continue to expand, my knowledge in computer science and get my master's and get into the tech industry a little bit more prepared. So currently, I work as a product specialist for a data privacy software company.
Nice, nice. Now, with all this math, do you have to use like longhand version of math anymore? Or are you strictly like technology based computations?
Yeah, technology-based computation. So I don't need to like hand, calculate anything. It's all code, or you make the code work for you. Sometimes you have to review some concepts, of course, to make sure your thought process align. But it also helps, that AI is here to kind of like review your code, so like we write code and I can use AI tools to kind of like review, see if there's any gaps, anything that can be optimized or anything like that. So that helps a lot on the performance side as well.
Yeah, I'm struggling with my daughter who is 7. All right. Now, she's too smart for her own good because she sees me and she sees mom, and we're doing things on our phones and like calculating stuff like, the easy way. She's going to school
Yeah.
and she's being forced to do it by hand. And she's like, why do I have to do this? And I'm just like, honestly, I'm struggling with the answer, and so I just tell her
Yep.
because you have to.
Because yeah, it's a struggle. I don't even understand because like, I mean, when I went to school for even for my master's, which I graduated my master's in end of 2020, I mean, AI has been a thing for at least a decade, like AI, artificial intelligence and machine learning was part of my master's degree in great substance. Like a large part of was like understanding the algorithm behind it and how to write machine learning models to feed AI systems and etc. So it's not a new thing. It's been around for 10, 15 years. However, it's just blooming, is exploding right now, right? Like the last like 3 years. Um, and I struggle to, we didn't have like ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or anything like that before, like 5 years ago, we didn't have that. So like we still had to like whiteboard, like how are we going to write an algorithm? And is this performing well? Is this going to perform well, et cetera? So I don't understand how people go through college now, like to code things and not use ChatGPT to write an essay. Like you can write an essay in 5 seconds with ChatGPT. And me, I was sitting there for 2 weeks trying to write a 10-page essay.
I mean, and what's crazy is like as like it updates itself in real time, so it just gets better and better. The product that
Yep.
you're using, they may upcharge you a little bit for certain things, but like you're literally getting and you can optimize it as it processes things for you. You can ask it to do
Yeah.
things like it is bizarre. The world that we live in is absolutely bizarre. It's probably a world that you're very familiar with for a while, but for most of us, like we are just trying to comprehend this whole AI process. I will say for what I do, it has helped leaps and bounds like make my productivity a lot more. Like I have to do less because of AI tools. So I'm appreciative of that.
Oh
But
yeah,
we could
100%.
we could
And
honestly
we can talk about that
I,
forever, honestly. I
that's what
also
I was gonna
use it
say.
on my day to day.
Like I feel like Chat GPT has become my search engine for everything. Like I just whatever I need, I just put it in there. I don't even care about anything else. It's crazy.
Yeah,
But
honestly, I use Google less and less. Like rarely I use Google anymore. I just have like ChatGPT on my like front on my lock screen of my phone, and I just click directly into it and just search like, oh, summarize what are the happenings of today, and then it gives me like 10 bullet points. It's like, okay, great, like that's my news. You know what I mean? So it's
you're caught up on
on the
current events. That's
Yep,
nice.
on a day to day, on at my job. Like, of course, we have like AI approved tools for the job. Like, you can't just put, like uh, um, internal documentation on ChatGPT, for example. We have our own AI approved tools, but like it helps tremendously with productivity and like speeding up troubleshooting of certain tools and everything. So it's been changing how people work and how people like live in general, which is, I mean, to me, it's great.
Wow. Wild times, man. But obviously I've thought about this, I think I'm gonna put together an all brains team, all brains United Grid League team. And like you have a spot on it, just so you're aware.
Thank you. I
Um
feel like
I
Aaliyah
taught
from the last episode, she's also
oh
gonna
yeah,
be
so
the
a
top.
neuroscientist. Yeah, she's definitely on it for sure too. Um but that would be interesting. Let's have like a brain bowl for you guys. That's a ringer event.
Ringer event.
Give
That would
you
be awesome.
a word-based math problem and everybody has to figure it out like
Yeah,
for
do a
time.
grid hackathon. You know how they do
Yeah,
hackathons in schools and companies? Yeah, so just do a grid hackathon. That'd be
there
cool.
you go. So let's get into it, man. Obviously, you are, from what I've learned, you're one of the tallest, if not the tallest athlete in grid. Obviously, being 6'5", like, is beneficial in life and it's beneficial as an athlete growing up. So tell me a little bit about your fitness journey. Were you into sports as a kid and it kind of carried you through? I know you mentioned playing professionally something, but tell me, just give me a brief summary of your fitness journey, man.
Yeah, for sure. So I've always been involved in sports all my life. Thanks to my parents, I started swimming when I was like 10 months old. So that was like, I believe, my first introduction to sports, really. Um, so Swimming was more for like survival kind of deal. Like, so if I drop my baby on the pool, like I don't have to worry about them
Right.
drowning. So um, that was my first interaction with sports, and then from there, I grew up playing all kinds of sports. I played handball, I played soccer growing up in Brazil. So I'm from Brazil, so if that wasn't super clear, but growing up in Brazil, I played all kinds of sports, handball. I played a lot of my three main sports growing up were judo, um, volleyball, and tennis. So I played those up until judo. I stopped around like 10 years old, and then tennis around 12, and volleyball ever since I was 10 years old until very recently, I would say. I stuck to volleyball throughout all my life, ever since I was 10, and that became a little more serious when I decided to move states. So I was living with my parents, as any kid does, or most kids do, up until I was 15 years old. And then when I was 15, I decided to take an opportunity to play for a big volleyball club in Brazil. So I moved states, moved to a completely different part of Brazil. My family is from the northeast of Brazil. I moved to the southeast of Brazil, so complete opposite side of the country. Played for that club for 3 years, graduated high school there. And then with that, I faced the opportunity to come to the United States for the first time with a volleyball scholarship. Um, and I took the scholarship, played NCAA Division One volleyball for my 4 years, so my 4 seasons in school. Um, had some success nationally with that, and so that gave me the visibility to go back to Brazil, find an agent, and go back to Brazil to play professionally, which was an exceptional experience. Is the dream of every kid that's growing up in sports. Like, oh, I eventually
Oh,
want to play
yeah.
professionally in my sport. So um, I played professionally for a couple seasons on the National League of Brazil, um, and then I was back into that limbo of like, oh, do I want to go overseas to Europe to play volleyball and experience a different league, a different type of volleyball that I haven't played before, or I was also offered the opportunity to come back to the US and try to get my master's and also be assistant coach at the D1 level at Georgia Tech. Um, so I was like, hey, why not try something different? I always wanted to, further my knowledge in computer science and go back to school. Um, and maybe, coaching is something I would enjoy. So I came back. Worst case scenario, I would just go back and find another contract. But I came, I got accepted into Georgia Tech, got my master's. I coached volleyball at the collegiate level for about 3 years, also at the club level for about 3 or 4 years. And yeah, here I am. My
Well,
involvement with
where did you go to undergrad? You said you came over for, and went to Division 1. Where was that?
I went to Coker College.
Okay.
It's a small college in South Carolina. So about 45 minutes from Columbia, South Carolina. So that's where I went to undergrad, and then my master's was at Georgia Tech.
Nice, nice. Now, in your volleyball career, how many times have you killed a ball and just blasted somebody right in the face?
Ever? Or in the face. Oh, I thought it was just like
Yeah,
blasting the
like
ball. That
I've
happened multiple times every day, but in the face. There are a couple of like really um almost tragic events, I'd say. There was a couple of
Jeez.
times in practice that happened to like my teammates when we were practicing, and they got like caught off guard on the face, and uh, one of my teammates got a concussion my sophomore year after I hit a ball, which I felt really bad because like
Wow.
I mean, it doesn't affect you too much when it's, during a game, which has happened
Yeah.
also. But when it's your teammate, you're like, dang, now he's out for however many days or a couple of weeks, and we can use him on the next game. So that was kind of not a great experience, but it has happened on the game
We
as well, which is it kind of like pumps everybody up. Although it's like, it could cause a concussion, depending how, if you don't have your hands in front of your face, etc. But it was, yeah, it has happened quite a few times.
I I mean, I was a baseball guy, so I get it, and people may not understand like how like it is extremely painful to take anything off the
Oh yeah,
body coming as fast as it's coming, and people will be like, well, it's a volleyball, but have you ever been hit with a volleyball? Like, until then,
yeah,
don't say anything, because it's not a pleasurable experience, that's for sure. But I always
it's
ask,
not.
because we've had on yeah, it's not at all. We've had, on our other shows on the network, we've interviewed, some volleyball players from, Kentucky and Texas and Nebraska, and some of the best volleyball players in the country, and they've were like, yeah, we've blasted people, and it's not a pretty sight. So I can only imagine, from your perspective, like, you don't want to do it to anybody at practice, but in the game, it's like, well, they have to be better than that. So,
Yeah, they got to protect
um,
themselves, and it's not pleasant when it happens to you too. It has happened to me
no, I'm
once, and it's not fun when a ball comes directly to your face at 85 miles an hour from like a 15-foot distance.
yeah.
So it's not very pleasant when that happens, and if it catches you off guard, it does some damage though.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, if you're rotating, you're moving, it catches you off guard, and even sometimes they just get in on you so fast, and you just don't realize it. But yeah, it's never fun. But for you, obviously, that's kind of the sport background, and I'm sure fitness and working out and going into a gym and being in that atmosphere goes hand in hand with athletics. But for you, you're a CrossFit level 2 trainer. Like, how does CrossFit mold into, what you're doing? Is that after the fact, after you're done with volleyball, you go, all right, like, I need something else? Or did you find CrossFit in the midst of playing and coaching volleyball?
Yeah, it was a little bit in the mix. So when I was um, in high school, still, I wanted something to supplement. You always work out, you do the weight room, etc. But it's everything very plain. It's just to support what we're doing and not to increase the performance. And I wanted something to kind of help me increase the performance. So it all started with a coach from back home on my vacation. On like off season, I would do kettlebell training. It all started with kettlebell training. So all I would do is a lot of like raw kettlebell training. If anybody's familiar with that, like it's like barefoot, just every variation of like kettlebell swings and like torque training, like different body planes, etc. So I started with that, and then one day when I was doing that, another coach approached me like, "Hey, I see you doing like a lot of kettlebell training with this coach. Like, if you ever want to come down to my training center." And that's when like CrossFit was like starting to get popular in Brazil around like 2018. He's like, "Hey, come down to my training center. Like, I think you'd love it, etc." So it was a functional training that eventually became a CrossFit affiliate, and I really enjoyed it. And so every time I was on off season vacation at home, I would go and train there. So it started as a off season, like preseason prep for me, and I saw a lot of benefit. I was like, "Oh, I'm stronger. I have less knee pain, surprisingly, and like my shoulders don't ache as much when I'm playing." So like that's great. Um,
Yeah.
which eventually I started doing classes even during season. So I'll do classes on local affiliate where my team was in a city in Brazil. So I'll do like twice a week. I couldn't do too much because we playing professionally, you practice twice a day and you still have like weight room in the middle of the day. And so like I couldn't fit a lot of classes during the week, but I'll still do like 2 or 3 times a week, do the CrossFit class, which I loved. Um, and then eventually when I came for my master's and I stopped playing professionally. I was doing more like amateur tournaments and stuff like that. I was able to start taking classes 5 times a week, and that eventually, like everybody else, evolved to like, oh, I want to something more, and I want to do a little bit extra. I started doing like an extra workout, and then like, oh,
Yeah.
how can and I did the open for the first time in 2019. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, how can I compete in this, and what are the competitive programs that are out there? So you start exploring more, and I started doing from like class and then another hour of extra workouts or extra lifting, um, and then got me to where I am today. From 2019 is when I really started like getting more involved and taking more classes like daily, and training a little bit more, and then now into having an individual coach, and putting, although it's still a hobby, I would say it's more so of like a serious hobby. Um, but yeah, it's something that I really enjoy doing, and got me where I am today, and feeds my competitive fire, really.
Yeah, I mean, similar story for me. I mean, I needed something after baseball where I could scratch the competitive itch, and I moved to Tampa and saw some crazy people every day running the same like loop or pattern, and I was like, what are these people doing? And so finally I just was walking my dog, and I walked by there and I popped my head in, and I was like, okay. So I stopped in, took a class, got the shit kicked out of me, and was like, I got to go do that again. And so
Oh
here
yeah.
we are years later. That was 2011, and I'm still working out in my garage, programming for myself. I'm a level two, CrossFit certified coach. And so, like, it's been like you said, it's life changing, and for you, it does help supplement the things that you're doing on a day to day basis. But also, it's fun. Like I
Oh
enjoyed
yeah,
it. Like
super
I
fun.
enjoy my time in the gym. So how does that then? Well, let's start with this CrossFit. Have you done 25-1?
Yep,
How
I
did it
did.
go to plan? Are you disappointed? Because I mean, to me, all right, the burpee aspect is probably not one that would be favorable for you, but you could probably knock out those lunges no problem in just a couple
Yep.
steps, couple strides from the 6'5", man. Like you're there. So how did it go? How did we do?
It was, so I did on Friday with a class. Kind of my fault for not warming up properly. I got there a little bit late because of work, and I didn't have enough time to warm up, so I kind of rushing into things. It didn't go, to summarize it all, it didn't go super well on Friday. I finished the round of 24, and I started the I had two burpees on the round 27. Um, I went way too hot. I had way too hot. I burned down on the round of 21. It was not pretty. The lunges were easy though. I was doing like 3.5, maybe 4 steps on the lunges each way. So that was awesome. That was a nice little breather. But redid it on Monday uh, just for myself to feel good about my effort, and I did a lot better. Did not rush, the warm up. Did not rush the burpees from the beginning. So I got um 22 into the 27 burpees, which is like a 20 rep improvement, which is really happy. I mean, it's not. I'll fall into the excuse of it's not a tall boy workout. It's lots of way to go to the ground
Yeah.
when you're tall, but I'm proud of my effort. You know, looking forward for the next ones as well.
Nice.
I
Well,
also want to
you
say shout out to my coach Kyle because I started working out. Kyle Spears from Blacklisted. We started working on burpees 6 months ago. I started with him 6 months ago, and we do hundreds of burpees a day. I'll say 6 months ago, I would not have done anywhere near as well as this time around if it wasn't for the amount of burpees we do weekly. So shout out to Kyle.
there there's a lot of fitness that can happen with just body weight stuff. And like it seems like basic and foundational, but like a burpee, it's you could do it in various formats in various workouts, and it's always sucks, but it always has this different feeling. Like you can add it to a box
Hmm.
jump, you can just do burpees alone, you can add a target, you can put a weight vest on, like you can do an EMOM, you can set, a max number in X amount of like, and it's always terrible. And like this was one of those
Yeah.
workouts where it wasn't like the burpees, you were tired, but it was like, I'm not too tired to stand back up, but it was just
Right.
very
Yeah.
hard to stand up. And I think that's where CrossFit, the beauty of the programming comes in, because it lures you into this false sense of like, oh, I got this. Especially, I would say through the round of 15, like you're like, I got this. Start getting into the round of 18 and you're like, okay, this is not fun. Once you get
Yep.
into 21, it's terrible. And then if you're me, I get into the round of 24 and I like it's everything I can do to get myself over the dumbbell. And it's like, what am I doing? Like
Yep.
it's not a difficult thing. Just do it. So but obviously we got 25-2 coming very, very soon. What would you like to see in 25-2?
That
What would be a wheelhouse for you?
Oh, wheelhouse. I'll have two
Yeah.
answers to that. I'll answer my wheelhouse and I answer what I think it might be.
Okay.
So my wheelhouse, hey, give me rope climbs and bar muscle ups. I would smash that. Or
Smash it.
give me a rower and box jump overs. Also, I would smash that. Or a combination of all four movements. Who cares? Bar muscle ups, rope climbs, rowing, and box jump overs all day.
Nice. Well, what do you think it's gonna be? You think it's gonna be a repeat? You think this is the repeat?
It could be. I was very convinced that 20 the third week would be the repeat because usually they repeat on the third week. Um, Sometimes is the first week, but never on the second. They never really repeat on the second from what I remember. Um, so one of my friends, Dylan, this morning, we were talking about like, oh, that hint from Dave Castro, there's like 7 rounds. So like the MO on the ground. And if you count it, there's 7 rounds of MO. So we were very convinced. It was like, okay, it's gonna be a 7 round workout. They never really repeat. So maybe a quick. He said it would like burn really quickly. So maybe it's a 7 round workout that will be done in less than 10 minutes, like super quick rounds. But then he came up this morning. He's like, I think these are 0.223. I don't know. I'm not familiar with MO. So like there's a
Yeah.
0.223 type of MO. And sure enough, I put that picture on ChatGPT and says like it seems to be a 0.223 MO, which is like, oh, it could be the repeat, and the repeat will be 22.3, which is thrusters, dubs, and gymnastics, increasing weight on the thrusters and increasing gymnastics complex. So it's
Or
like
it could just be
pull-ups,
pistols.
or it could just be pistols. I find it hard for them to program pistols in the open again with 3 weeks, but it could be.
Yeah.
My bet would be
You never know.
22-3, 22-3 if they're redoing this week.
Okay.
What do you
You know,
think?
I could I think it's going to be a repeat. Obviously, when you see the bullets, the first thing that comes to mind, you know, is pistols. But I think that that would be too obvious. So I
Yeah.
feel like I think you're onto something. I think when you dig a little bit deeper, there's some underlying meaning, and I think Chat GPT is just one again. Like, you know,
Just one
it's helped.
again.
Yep. I mean, it's doing big things. So with CrossFit, obviously the space it shares itself to overlapping and finding grid. So for you, how do you come across grid? Is it just you knew some people through CrossFit, or you did some research and you found this on your own, or you just stumbled across it?
Yeah, so I kind of knew of Grid just from like YouTube, like seeing things on social media like Instagram and YouTube. So I was familiar with Grid when it was the professional league, and I saw the infamous thruster ladder from oh gosh, the thruster ladder that went up to like 365. That Klokov did the 365 thruster. So I remember that. I remember a couple clips of like Matt Frazier and Noah Olson like hitting some of like the elements on the grid. So I had some like memories of that. But then I really got into it when Amanda and Griffin signed with the Wild. The first season with the Gainesville Wild 2 years ago in 2023. So it was like, I knew them, and I was like, oh, we train together sometimes. Like, I want to support them. So I was just watching every single match on the 2023 season, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the format. I really enjoyed like how the sport is structured, how fast it is. I'm a very explosive athlete, and like short bursts of really powerful movements. Coming from volleyball, that's what we do. Like it's a really explosive movement, and you have a few seconds rest, and then a really explosive movement, and then rest again. So that kind of like relates to grid a lot. I was like, I wonder if I can do some of this stuff. So um as I'm watching 2023, supporting my friends, and I was like, I feel like I could do some of that stuff faster than they can. And so that started like, marinate in my brain. And I'm like, maybe I can do rope climbs faster than them. Like maybe I can do box jumps faster than them. So I'll try. And all it culminated to we had a camp, an athlete camp for Blacklisted on, I think, March last year,
Okay.
around this time last year. And then the coach of the Wild is one of the coaches for Blacklisted. And so I was like, after the camp, not related to grid at all, I was just like, hey Dan, kind of like as a joke, really. I was like, hey Dan, if you need somebody to do like really fast box jumps and rope climbs on your team, let me know. You know where to find me. So, and then like as a joke, and a week go by, and like he was like, oh, were you serious about that? I mean, my roster is full. My roster is full this year, but I can connect you with another coach friend of mine that might want you on their team. So then he ended up connecting me with Briley from the Palms. Oh, he connected me with
You're
Briley from the
you're good.
Palms, and we ended up connecting, and she sent me a few testers. Um, a few like partner forward testers, and a few ladders, and utility player stuff. And I sent her the videos, and she was like, okay, I mean, I like what you're showing. Here's the LOI, and let's go on with this season. And I ended up signing with them and re-signed this year, I guess.
So last year is your first season on the grid. What did you think? Did it meet, in your mind, you always like have this idea of what it's going to be, but now that you're completed it, did it match what you anticipated? Was it harder? Was it easier? Was it on par with what you thought?
I think it exceeded expectations, really. There are some things that were much harder than I thought. Like grid speed is real. I hear everybody talking about it, and if you haven't experienced grid speed, is next level. Like going fast on a CrossFit workout is nowhere near grid speed. When people say that, it sounds funny. It sounds like it's not real, but it's another gear that you have to hit on the grid. And doing, for example, a ladder, four weights back to back to back to back, it hits different. It's like, oh yeah, I can hit a 250 size snatch, but try doing, you know, 195, 215, 225, and then 255 within a span of 30 seconds. Like that is different, Squatting 30 times in a row at grid speed is different. So it matched expectations on that, like exceeded expectation as far as like the vibe overall. I love like the team camaraderie and getting to know more people, making 18 new friends. Like I find my teammates to be like my best friends and kind of like family in a way. We talk nearly every day, and we share stories, we have fun together, and it's always the best time when you have the team around. Like it comes match weekend, and you're just hanging out with your team and building that relationship. I really miss the team atmosphere, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I find it rewarding when you see, as a member of a team, you see other people on the team and they work really hard for something and you see them achieve it. Or you come up with this ultimate goal and everyone's working in unison together, and then bam, like you capture whatever the goal is. Like, to me, that whole process of working hard and achieving it, like everything in between, is what I get fired up about being on a team. It's just a unbelievable experience, and the grid is unique in and of itself. But for you, being with the Palms, like I don't know. A lot of players have different roles as far as on the grid, but off the grid and the back office stuff, like, are you working with Briley, off the grid to help, improve, functioning of the team? Or like what is your role with the team? Is it strictly
Yeah.
just an athlete?
So, as we just talked about, like is my second year, and I really, really loved, the sport, and I just want to help grow and be more involved and make it somewhat more professional in a way. Like I don't know if professional is the right word, but like make the system work better. So I asked Briley to be more involved. Like, hey, Briley, how can I help? How can I be more involved with the team? And I would love to assist you because she is not only an exceptional player, she is the head coach of the team. She's the owner. She's the general manager. She's everything. She's all in one person, and I wanted to help her to kind of take a little bit off her plate because that's not the only thing she does. She does personal training. She coaches at an affiliate. She does life coaching. She has her own business, so she does a thousand things at the same time. I was like, hey, I want to help you. I want to help the team, and so I also assist her with some things on the back end of things, social media being one of them. I've been trying to help her with that, and we all kind of helped her with recruiting, but I started to reach out more to other people to recruit for our team this season, um, and looking for partners and sponsors like that. So a anything and anywhere that I can help, really, I'm offering help just because I want this team to succeed. I want the sport overall to succeed.
Yeah, it's growing and it's expanding. You're outside of the regional area of Florida. You've got a team in Atlanta who just won last year's championship. You now have an expansion team starting this year in Houston. There's talks of other teams, popping up. The Daytona team is now rebranded and they're relocated out of Vegas. So a lot of like expansion and things with the team. And what I don't think a lot of fans realize is how much work goes into the back office stuff. And it's hard as like you said, for someone like Briley, who is very, very driven and very good at what she does, but it's a lot to be able to be a player, be a coach, be a business owner, and do all these things and balance it all. So, it's where I'm sure most owners will take whatever help they can get. So, shout out to you for stepping up and helping out there because it's valuable experience. And in the event that something happens and you want to proceed forward with maybe ownership of a team, at least now you have some knowledge of how to do that and make it work. um with the Palms, had a chance last season in 2024 to try to solidify a spot in the playoffs. It was quite a big mountain, I would say, to try to, as far as point differential, winning a match, which you end up winning the last regular season match, which was what you had to do. But the point differential, you needed to do it by more than 5, which is really tough in grid. But when you look back at last season, was it a success or were you a little disappointed in the fact that you weren't able to make a push for the playoffs?
Yeah, we're in a tough situation going into trying to make the playoffs. We knew that. We knew it was a scenario, like it was one single scenario that had to work out to make us go through with the playoffs. So, like you said, having making up the 5 point deficit plus the Lions had to beat the Aces for us to make that spot. So, um, which ended up not happening, as we all know at this time. Like we won the match, but not by enough, and also the Lions end up not beating the Aces. But overall, I think the season was a success, and we talked as a team afterwards. We all agree it was a success season. It was kind of like a rebuilding season, if you will. We had a lot of rookies. We had a very small roster last year, and we had to keep adding people throughout the season, which is good in a way that we're getting more people into the sport, but also hard in a way is like learning the rules and learning, how to move on the grid and all the nuances of the game. It takes some time. It's not like in one match you're going to learn everything. Like I'm sure, I have plenty to learn, and although I do study grid, I do like analyze matches and time and everything. I'm kind of like Dan in a way, like I time everybody's splits and I have that written down, and like I know what time I have to hit, to make, you know, to be part of that certain race. But um, overall, it was a success season. We built a solid foundation for this season. Like it reflects on all of our people resigning, and we have new additions. So it speaks volumes for the foundation that Briley built and team chemistry that she built last year. Although it was not the goal that we set for the season, however, it was a success that we built such a strong foundation for the years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look forward to the 2025 season, what's the expectation? What are you guys laying out? Is it, playoffs? Is that what would be a successful season, or is it just have a team, have a roster, mesh, have the team aspect, have the community, and just go out and be a team that gets after it? Like, what is the ultimate goal for 2025?
Yeah, I think the cliche said like, yeah, we want championship, right? It's what every team wants. Um, I like to think a little bit more like one step at a time. I think like our first goal as a team should be, you know, winning every single match that we can and moving on to playoffs and putting ourselves like setting ourselves up for success into the playoff, and then think about first playoff match and then championship match. I think with the foundation we built last year and with the new additions and returning players that we have this year, we have a really strong squad. Um, we closed some of the gaps that we had for years on our team. And I say years, it's only my second year, but like knowing the history of the Palms, there's certain gaps in skill set that we haven't had in since the team has started. And now we're closing those gaps, which is really exciting. And I can't wait to get on the grid floor with our squad this year.
Absolutely. So for you personally, what is your goal? I mean, and we can take championship. Obviously, winning a championship would be great, but like at the end of 2025, have you been working on an aspect of your game? And at the end of 2025, you want to go, I want to know that I worked on this and I got it better? Or is there a particular goal in mind that you have laid out for yourself personally?
Yeah, absolutely. My personal goal coming into this season was to get stronger. I know I'm like a powerful, explosive athlete. I can perform some movements like the fastest, be one of the fastest in the league in certain movements. But I wanted to be able to contribute more in mirrors and ladders. So for me, there are a couple ladders that I could clear last year, but in a few mirrors that I could do. But I wanted to be just stronger overall. That's my main goal for this season, being able to contribute more and clearing more ladders throughout the year and being, you know, define the odds of being in the mirror as the tallest athlete on the grid and still show that you can move a barbell fast, even with like super long limbs. Um, that's my main goal for this year for sure.
I mean, that would be unbelievable. If I see you in a mirror, I'm gonna be fired up because, like, one, you're a very tall athlete, and like speed matters, and
Yeah.
little things like range of motion, like it comes down to that. But if you are in it, I'm gonna know like the goal that you set out for yourself, like you went out there and you crushed it. Like you put in the work, you put in the effort. Like I said, that's the part that I get fired up about is that whole process in between of setting the goal and achieving the goal because I'm confident like at some point over the 3 weeks of this regular season, I'm gonna see you in one of those races and I'm gonna be like, fuck yeah, that's my dude
Yeah.
right there, just getting after it. Like um, but you know, when we look back at grid and we look at the expansion, and this is kind of where we'll end the interview is I just want to know when you look at the expansion of grid and like all the things that are happening, um, what do you think is next? What do you foresee being next for United Grid League? Obviously, we you have 8 teams and you got 3 weeks of season and you'll have a championship, but like moving into the future, like for it to be sustainable, what would you like to see or what do you foresee happening?
Yeah, I foresee we're adding more teams, that's for sure. I foresee us having maybe 10 teams next season, having I know there was a lot of interest of other cities hosting teams and etc. So I feel like there's not just enough time for other cities to put a team together, but I feel like it's very realistic to expect in the upcoming seasons to have 10 teams or maybe, in 2 or 3 years have 12 teams. So that is like a obvious growth path that I see. The other thing I see is more like bigger brands supporting the sport, and I think that will play a pivotal role into growing the sport in general. And with
Yeah.
with that said, I would love, 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 love for Grid for one of those streaming services to pick Grid and just follow people along for a season and just make a show out of that. That would be sick.
I mean,
Have
there's
I don't know
with
Netflix,
the
Hulu, whoever, Amazon Prime. Listen to us.
I mean, if I had the capabilities and people liked me enough to bother them every single day, like I'd be down to do that. Could you imagine just waking up every morning? Artur, and I'm like going, all right, brother, here's my camera. Like, we're gonna go to work together. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's let's go work some chat GPT. Let's do some AI. Let's do some computer science work. No, no, but yeah, you're right. Having some type of stream where you can follow along, because I think the misconception that a lot of people have when it comes to grid is, yes, it's a professional sport, it's a organization, and but it's not like this it hasn't been around long enough to have like contracts and players making big time
Mhm.
dollars, or even enough. To me, I equate it to, minor league baseball is, you still have to have a 9 to 5 or another job that's going to
Right.
support you. You're still having expenditures and having to find training time, which is key. And you're still having to travel distances to matches. And there's not necessarily, even the first week in Miami, like, it's not going to be a home match per se for South Beach, even though they're located, but some of the players aren't located there, so
Right.
you're having to travel, yourself included, like having to make arrangements to travel. So, um, I think that's kind of the misconception that people may not understand, and getting sponsors, and this is me just telling everybody out there, small business, local business, big business, it doesn't matter. All the athletes need sponsors, whether
Yeah.
what the requirements are. I mean, it's always, nice to have a financial monetary obligation. You get, some brand recognition on the jersey, or some social media promotion. Um, or if you have a product, like recovery products are always huge, because it's a strenuous sport, and it's not just the sport itself on match day, it's the day to day that goes into it. So, I love the sport. I'm very passionate about grid. I enjoy being able to talk to you guys, because it's that process that we talk about, man. It's just, you're a professional athlete, and the end result is having a successful season. But in order to do that, so many things have to happen, and you guys go out and you grind, and I love that more than anything, just the process of the grind. So, I appreciate, man, you taking some time out to join me and get your story out there. I had a blast talking to you. Hopefully we'll get you back on, and hopefully I get a chance to head out to Miami, and I'll see you, week one, and we'll meet in person, and chat and talk, and do all that stuff. But before you run, Artur, is there anything you want to plug or promote?
Yeah, of course. Like you said, it's hard to, to pay for your own season, and especially if you're out of town, you have to fly into every match and pay for hotels and food and airplane and everything. So, um, I want to plug in 321 Podium for my supplements. They've been with me. That's the second season, so I appreciate that. Um, and so, if you're looking for an athlete to sponsor, if you have a brand, if you have a product, like Daniel said, please, I'm looking for sponsors for this season. The more the merrier. If you can help me playing grid and continue to do this thing that we love so much, let me know. Slide in the DMs, go on my Instagram. Um, yeah, I'd love to represent your brand and continue doing all this. But yeah, thanks, Daniel. Appreciate having me and helping to share all, everybody's story. That's really important what you're doing. I really appreciate that, and I'm sure the league really appreciates what you're doing for us, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's nice, the partnership that I've had with the league. Everybody's been very cordial and very supportive of what, my ultimate goal is. And while we're live, I'll go ahead and put it out there. My plan is to hopefully have you know do the interviews, obviously, like, because I like talking to the athletes, but also on a weekly basis get to a point where I can do an update show. That way all the athletes have something to look forward to. That way we're talking about matches, we're talking about what to expect, we're talking about predictions and stats, and how, dissecting certain matches, how things went, how they didn't maybe go, who, got shocked, who is in the starting rotation, like all these little things that you could possibly have. But that's kind of the ultimate vision. If I put it out there, then I hold myself accountable to doing it. So eventually, maybe I have you back on, and we're able to do an update show together, and we could talk about some things. But I do appreciate your time, Artur, and I wish you the best season, and stay healthy. And hey, whatever comes out today with 25-2, just go out there and kick ass, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to come back on.
Yes, sir. That's Artur Cabral, everybody of the South Beach Palms. If you like hearing Artur's story, or you just like hearing Average Joe's talk X's and O's, please like, share the podcast on Facebook. Head over to YouTube. You can do 3 things for me, and it'd be much appreciated. Click like, click subscribe, click notifications. That way you get access and you know when new content is being uploaded, because it's dropping every single day. Outside of the Grit and Grind show, we have a college baseball show, college gymnastics show. We have a Pros and Joes show, which is professional athletes that were in college. Now they're pros, and they're giving us the insight of what it's like being in the minor leagues or at the top of the top in the big league farm club system. So check it out. The library is packed full of stuff, and we will see everybody next week. Got Megan Medeiros. Got a story. The Aces are no more. It's now Fort Lauderdale Lions. So we're going to get her perspective on that. We're going to talk about her upcoming season, what she's looking forward to, maybe some apprehension, some fears about this whole merge. But either way, we get to talk to another great athlete next week. So y'all stay tuned. More to come. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We are out.